Hello everyone, welcome back. I probably sound like a bad record. Once again, TreeView, multi-select. It's cool. I want to get this thing tested. I want to get this thing merged. It's getting close. Thank you, Nikolai, for jumping in. He found a couple bugs with it over the last week. Sent a PR, got those merged in. I think today we're going to focus on getting more tests written, probably find some bugs, probably fix some things, hopefully get it to the point where I'm very confident that we are good to go. But first, something very, very exciting. Hang on. I'm not this dumb. Hacktoberfest, one of my favorite times of the year. It's like a whole month of happiness. So, for those people who are unfamiliar with Hacktoberfest, this is a I don't want to say competition, open source initiative. We're gonna go with those terms. All about getting people excited and helping contribute to open source work. So if you would like to get into open source, a lot of Hacktoberfest stuff is geared towards people who maybe haven't done a lot of open source work or are kind of learning. So students, people coming in, great. Don't feel like you need to have a lot of knowledge to be able to do this. There's even non-code related options for those people who maybe are like, my coding skills, I don't feel that proficient, but yeah, I'd love to help out with documentation and similar. Great. There are opportunities for you as well. This is also a great way to give back for any repos that you or projects that you're like, I can't really contribute to them any other way. This is an awesome way to do it. So here's the deal. Hacktoberfest.com. You go there, you create an account. It usually linked to your GitHub. And then you start hunting for repositories that are tagged with Hacktoberfest. So what do I mean? In order for a repository to opt in to be considered, they need to have the Hacktoberfest label. Is that the right word on this? I'm trying to remember the right topic. That's the word I'm going for. Hacktoberfest topic on them. So a large swath of my repos are have Hacktoberfest already set on them. If you see one of mine that you want to contribute to and you don't see it, just message me. I'm always happy to take it. But the idea is because some repos did not like to get a huge influx of PRs from people, this is an opt-in at the maintainer level to be able to do this. So please pay attention to the repos that do this. Only go after the ones that are actually opting in. That's the intent here. The other thing is a lot of repos will tag issues with a Hacktoberfest label, making them easier to find. Good first issue is another common one to look for. Those are usually easy ones to go through and do. It's the repository or it's the maintainer saying very actively, hey, we'd like some help. This is an opportunity for somebody to come in. Good first issue is usually designed for people who maybe aren't as familiar with the repository. It means something well defined, tightly scoped. Usually it's, hey, we kind of know what needs to change. It's right here, do X, Y, and Z. Great. Perfect. So those are good ones as well. I will point something out. Some people do not like Hacktoberfest, largely because they've gotten burned with spams. So there is a where is it? There's usually a t-shirt on the line for anybody who gets the 4 pull requests accepted. Now, the pull request doesn't necessarily have to be merged, but it does need to be open during the month of October, and it can't be something that gets flagged as spam. They have very harsh rules set up if your PR gets flagged as spam. Specifically, 2 things that get flagged, and they kick you from Hacktoberfest for life. So that's, yeah, don't spam people. That's bad. Only work on stuff where people have actively asked for contributions. If the maintainer isn't actively seeking contributions, don't annoy them, and don't do meaningless spell checky things, like actually find issues. So on that note, if people are interested and you are thinking, hey, my coding stuff is not up to snuff, may I point your attention to this large swath of issues, 88 of them in fact. So I've got a material design in XAML examples. Some of these probably need to be updated. I just noticed today that there was some issues open that I completely missed in my email, probably due to the spam I get and things got dropped. But a lot of these are very simple ones. There's an example example one here of what we're looking for, of literally each of these projects, just a quick readme, a GIF or image showing what the thing looks like, a little sample showing what the relevant code bits are. That's it. So if anybody is looking for an easy way to snipe 4, I've got 88 options for you in just this repo alone. Obviously, the material design and XAML project participates. My Pointer Star project participates. Like I said, pretty much any repo I am a maintainer on, I have tried to go through and add the Hacktoberfest one. The only exception is repos where I don't really have issues that I could tag. I like, if as long as I have at least one issue that I can label as like a good first issue or Hacktoberfest, I'm happy to slap it on. But again, if somebody wants to dive in on a more complicated thing and I don't have the topic on there, just message me. I'm happy to enable it, especially for people who want to dive in. Okay, Hacktoberfest, there's that. Oh, there was one other thing I was going to talk about and I missed it. Okay. Now, this is probably a little late for anybody watching this, but I wanted to talk about it because I got excited about it. Okay, so there is this chess challenge, and I think I talked about this probably 2 months ago. It's all about building tiny chess bots and blah, blah, blah. You can read the rules. The key thing here is submissions are due by October 1st. I'm recording this on September 27th. The recording for this on YouTube isn't going to post until October 1st anyway. So it's like, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're probably too late. But you're probably not too late to go and see Sebastian's video on the results of this. So the idea is he put out this challenge for people to produce some tiny chess bots. There's a lot of rules around it. And off to the races. And they're going to be taking all these bots, putting them in a little tournament, see who comes out ahead. I submitted one because I thought it'd be fun. Mine was called Shuxwang Gambit. Because I enjoy chess puzzles. I found myself less focused on the chess and more focused on the C#. What a shock. And I don't know if my bot's going to be disqualified. I followed the rules to the letter, but I pretty much violated the intent of every rule. So my bot blatantly cheats. It pretty much walks up to the arbiter and says, resolve every game in my favor. Turns out that's an easy way to win. It's not really a appropriate way to win, but it's a way to win. So we'll see how it goes. It may get disqualified, but darn it, I had a lot of fun. So that's what counts. But regardless of what happens, it was fun. We'll see if I'm shooting for honorable mention. Let's put it that way. Honorable mention's what we're going for. Because I thought it was a rather clever trick, and actually a sequence of clever tricks. There was one that I saw get posted in the Discord where somebody abused the garbage collector finalizer to basically stall out their opponent's clock. I was like, that's pretty clever. I like that. Okay. Multi-select TreeView, something, TreeView, something. Okay. So, real quick, let's just refresh for those people unfamiliar. So, WPF does not have a multi-select TreeView. It does not exist. People have built various things. We blatantly stole some inspiration from Visual Studio because, for example, this looks a heck of a lot like a TreeView. This is WPF. This is not a TreeView, despite what it may look like. This is a list view. And so we have built out something that works remarkably similar. And once again, this is not a TreeView. This is a list view. It just looks and acts a whole heck of a lot like a TreeView. So that's the idea. And last time we kind of did some keyboard shortcuts to get all those working and wired up, which was kind of cool. We've got the double click for expand collapse going. There may be some questions about configuration. Like, I don't doubt as soon as I release this, people are going to ask for some functionality that I haven't implemented. And so, darn it, MVP is going to be what I think is minimum viable product, emphasis on minimum. And we're going to ship that. and then people can put in feature requests and we will add them as appropriate. So, but I think we've got a lot of these in. Oh, that's kind of fun. Oh, it does handle it. Okay, so the key thing here with this whole tree view is there is a concept. In order for it to work, when you expand a node, expansion is literally insert new items into the list and offset them accordingly, right? Collapse is the exact opposite. Find all your direct children who are in set and remove them. And so that's the idea. Is we want to do that. I do wonder if maybe I am noticing because of that we are losing the expanded state. I don't think that's how. Well, this one doesn't have double nested stuff, does it? Oh, there it does. So if I collapse fruit, I wonder how important it is to maintain that. I mean, you could fix it in your view model by just binding to is expanded. That way the view model tracks the expanded state. Might be the easier way of handling it. That might be the easier way of handling it. I might just decree that. But for now, what I am interested in doing tonight is getting some tests put around this thing, because there is a substantial amount of code in here that does not work well, does not look nice, and is kind of ugly. Also, I want to get the code cleaned up so it is in a state where we could theoretically ship this. We do have a to-do here for getting selected items. I also put a thing on here of disallowing grid view. I'm trying to remember why I wanted to disallow grid view. I think it was just I didn't want to spend time styling it, but we may test this because this may just work out of the box. Which is pretty slick. Pretty slick. Okay. So this guy is only public. I'm kind of thinking what I might do. What I might do is break this up a little bit with the idea that, well, let's just flatten this thing into appropriate stuff. So we're going to move you to your appropriate file, start there. Take you, move you to your appropriate file, boom, start there. Okay. Next, let's get the XAML files cleaned up, because we had everything basically just buried under TreeView, and I don't like that. I would like to fix that, pretty please. Because we were keeping everything here to keep it all simple. Yeah, because this is there's your TreeListView item. TreeView item. TreeListView, yeah. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to go copy, paste. I saw you move. Where'd you go? Oh, you put it up there. So we're going to do this, where we do TreeListView. Okay. And then on TreeListView, we are going to just nuke everything that isn't relevant to our stuff. So I think all of this is irrelevant. All of this is irrelevant. We may need to bring some of it back, but we're going to start with assuming it's all irrelevant and then work backwards from there. That means in TreeView, these two guys become irrelevant. And then anything we have to add back to the other one is something that we change elsewhere. Okay, next. The defaults. Where's it? Defaults. So these guys here. But where do we set up the... Looking for the dialog host and similar ones, because I don't see where we set those up. We set those up here. Where do we set those up? Oh, because they're imported, the defaults flow through. Got it. I think what we were going to do is we were actually going to obsolete defaults in favor of going material design to defaults. And okay, got it. So we want to come in here and we want to kill that off. I really want to take these out. If I look at dialog host, I'm guessing what I'm going to see is an implicit style. Yeah, style, target type, default. Yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to come down here. We're going to do that. This is showing MDIX. This is going to be WPF here. Boom. Okay, and then we want to reference this in the places above. Tree list view, right? I think that's correct. Tree list view, great. And then we want to do the same thing up on the other ones. TreeView, list view. And then this has list view. Okay. That goes there. It goes there. Everyone's happy. Okay, so this should still launch and look identical. Just going to make sure that this refactor hasn't botched anything real quick. I want this thing to still resolve its template appropriately. Excellent. Cannot find nullable divisibility converter. Yep, I remember seeing that one. So we come back here. So let's do... close some of these so I don't get confused. This guy here. So nullable divisibility converter. Then we're going to... yeah, so he isn't referenced. I guess he is referenced inside of TreeView item. I can't just axe him. But what I can do is come over here to TreeListView, because I'm guessing if I check here, yeah, I do see him in here as well. So it's a similar binding for the additional template stuff. Got it. So, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this converter nested down inside of the control template. When you put it up at the resource group level, it can leak into people's app stuff, and I don't like that. So I've been trying to move things down, but it also means that if I move things down blindly, if somebody was relying on it being there, it's a break. And so I don't want to break people, but I also want to start moving in the direction of cleaner. Sometimes you just do things incrementally. There's we'll come back to it in a second. Material design, expand, collapse, toggle style. That is almost assuredly something in here. This is the toggle button. Do I share this between them or not? I'm trying to decide if this is something that should be shared or not. Because programmers have this implicit idea that all duplication is bad. They've gotten that dry mentality stuck in their head. But not all duplication is bad. The question is, are these things actually the same? So should a change to this toggle button by default apply to both? Or should they be revved independently? I think they should go together. Yeah, I think they should go together. I'm gonna move this guy up here because that's not a breaking change. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go up here. Let's see, resource dictionary, merge dictionaries. Okay, Copilot, what am I thinking? Yep, pretty good. Now what? Thank you. See that? I almost had to think about what to type. It's kind of creepy that Copilot figured that out. Like, it did it know that that was the way to reference the resource dictionary of the tab that I was just in? Apparently. Okay, now it loads. Okay, perfect. So let's commit that real quick. Let's see, stage all changes. I don't want to commit the test change just yet. Unstage that. Unstage that. Okay. Refactoring the files to put TreeListView in its own resource dictionary. Okay. Push that guy. Away we go. I don't need this local branch anymore. Okay. That was me just looking at what Nikolai had done. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk tests. Let's talk tests. Because I think if we get this thing tested well enough, I'll be at a state where I'm comfortable merging it. Okay, so we have built a... I'm just going to close this for the moment. We have built a very simple user control. This user control has our tree list view. It has an item source with a hierarchical data template, very much showing the simplistic case of how this thing looks, which is great. We like this. It's got an add and a remove button. If we look at the code behind, add-on click just calls add item, which does something slightly different depending on where it's at. And then remove item down here. Now, the risky case with this entire control is there are several areas where I had to watch for the collection changed event. And if I remember where I'm going, oh, this guy here. This guy should be in his own move. Yeah. So specifically, this items collection is kind of problematic because he needs to do a lot of work. And I kind of want to test it. I kind of would love to test him directly, actually. What's the harm in making him public? And I kind of don't want to make him public, though. I really don't. Do we have an internal namespace? Because I kind of want to write some tests. We do. Things that need to be public that really shouldn't be. Because occasionally you need things public for a variety of reasons. And I'm aware of things like internals visible too. I hate that hack. I hate it. But I'm kind of thinking that this guy deserves some straight up unit tests. And I'm thinking I just move him into the internal namespace and make him public. I think I like that best. You, come here. Nope. Nope, not what I told you to do. I mean, it's what I told you to do. It's not what I wanted. Adjust namespace. Okay, so you should now be in the internal namespace. Perfect. We will make you public, and we're going to just test the crap out of you real quick. Okay, because I want tests over this. Because this is very much a case that could break. And I don't like breaks. So let's see. Tree list view items collection tests. Okay, flatten that, do that, do that. Okay, and I'm X unit here, right? Or my MS test. I don't remember what my testing framework is. I am X unit. Why? we have to write using X? Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible. Why did I do that? Let's not do that. Using include X unit. There. I've now obsoleted the need to use using X unit inside of my test project. So for people who aren't familiar with this feature, this is global using statements. The default template will try to do like a global usings.cs. I do not like that. I prefer to do them in my CS proj. The downside of this is people don't know to look for them inside of their CS proj. The upside to this is you can then leverage all of the power of MS Build. So you can do fancy things with conditionals. You can have shared references that auto propagate per directory. So for example, if you put all of your unit test projects in a test folder, you can have a directory build props in that folder that automatically applies it to every project and every future project in there. Kind of nice. So there's additional power to MS Build. The disadvantage is it's MS Build. But you can then get this kind of thing just slapped in and away you go. Okay. Now I can do fact. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look at what is important to test here. So we want to test constructor accepts arbitrary object. And I think we need to let this guy be nullable. So let's do public void constructor accepts null. So let's see. TreeListView item collection of string. Collection gets new null. And then assert empty. That'll work. The assert's kind of meaningless at the moment. But because we're really testing the constructor. Generally, you don't want unit tests with no asserts. Like, this would be a bit of a red flag. But every unit test in theory has an implicit assertion. The assertion that the code above did not throw an exception. In our case, we're going to do this. Just so it's a little more clear and make it more obvious. Go pilot. That's pretty good. I just don't like that it named it accepts IEnumerable. It's trying to hit this case here. And then past an array. I think what I would like to do let's see. I think I want to explicitly do this. I think this is slightly more clear of what's happening. In the other case, like in both cases, there's an array being passed in, but okay, Copilot, I would like to test non-null object case. Constructor. Copilot, constructor returns null. Explain to me how you're going to implement that. Believe me, I've tried. You can't make a constructor return null. That would require the runtime doing, well, everything I have tried to get a constructor to return null doesn't work. You can do some really funky stuff, though. I don't think you can make a constructor return null, because functionally, the runtime allocates space, initializes the object, and which initializing the object means call the constructor. So your constructor is an initializer after the memory's been allocated. How you get a null back from that, I have no idea. So, let's see. Constructor accepts object. We're going to go up here. And actually, I kind of want to look. Why did this thing need to accept an object? I think it was based upon because of how this thing is set up. Because item source is object. That's why. Okay. We're going to do the same thing here. And we're just going to do new object, call it a day. Okay. There's that. There's that. You know what? Let's turn on live unit testing. I don't want to turn on all tests, but I would like to turn on, we probably only need to test net 7. Oh, this is the colors. I don't care about colors. Let's go WPF test net 7. Why do I have net 7 and net 7 windows? Am I seriously targeting both of those? Live unit testing window. I don't know where you're coming up with these differentiating things. You're weird. Okay. That doesn't seem right. This seems more appropriate. And I just want these. So run those. Let's see here. Workspace folder. Hang on one second. I think I've got a better directory I've already set up for this. I generally create a live unit testing thing. Yeah, I want it on my D drive. When building, use multiple MS build processes. Sure. Test case timeout. When running test, sure. Yeah, none of these tests should be. I mean, this could even be shorter. These are unit tests. They take longer than 60 seconds. We got a bigger problem to worry about. Okay. My coworkers are making fun of me. Apparently, I corrupt them and convince them that they need to spend their evenings learning coding stuff. I am both proud of myself and terrified. What have they found? What have they found? It looks good. So one, James Newton King. For those people unfamiliar with him, he is the author of Newtonsoft.json. So we could say a pretty smart cookie. This blog looks amazing. So I'm just gonna share that, and then I'm gonna put that on my log to read later because that looks like something very much worth my time. Okay. There we go. Test passing. Great. Now, the whole idea with live unit testing is now I don't have to run tests. I should just see the little check marks come up. Okay, so now I'd like to test the iNotify collection case. You want to write it for me, Copilot? No. Get off of the constructor returning null kick. We're not doing that. Constructor registers for iNotify collection changed on parameter. I don't like the all caps there. Okay, Copilot, write it for me. No, nothing. Ha. Okay. Let's see. So we need something that implements iNotify collection changed. Yeah. You can be empty though because we'll practice adding. And then you'll do that. And then what do we do next, Copilot? Do we... Yeah, see? Collection, add. Actually, I don't know if I want to call this a constructor test because functionally what I want to do is I want to deal with this massive switch statement is what I kind of want to get to. Let's do this. When wrapped object implements iNotify collection changed, it handles additions. All right, so I want to do range act assert. You want to write the asserting for me? Thanks. See, Copilot, you can be useful at times. See, test pass. Huzzah. Huzzah. Okay. Okay, Copilot, what's next? That's correct. And Yeah, that's about right. Okay, Copilot, what's next? Do you believe we used to actually like write tests ourselves? It handles replacements. I mean, this is getting real bad. No, I don't think clear is quite what I want here. Yeah, I mean, clear will trigger a reset, but I want to be clear that the case we're looking for is reset. We may need to do something different. Because I'm also noticing we aren't hitting the add here. So clear is getting me to here, but it's not perfect. This is the other nice thing about live unit testing is you get these line, it's not code coverage, it's kind of line-ish coverage, but it gives you a pretty good idea of going, oh yeah, that case isn't tested yet. Perfect. Our goal is going to be to get this thing all green. Okay. I kind of want to trigger a reset without and have new items in here altogether and just like straight up swap the collection. This thing doesn't have, I'm trying to remember if there's a way to do this without a, because I can do it with a derived class. I'm just trying to decide if there's a way for me to do it without a derived class. I don't know if there is. I think I might have to do it with a derived class, which is fine. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a derived class. Because I want to hit the case where I can straight, because this has A, I kind of want to do a straight up replacement and say replace all items and then verify that it handles that. Let's see, private class, testable collection of T, observable collection of T, and then we're going to do a public void replace all items. I enumerable T new items. Okay. And then there's an overridable member here that is something along the lines of on collection changed. Just does something like this. And we want to do let's see, private int block collection changes. So if interlocked compare exchange, oh dear heavens, Copilot, were you gonna write my interlock code for me? Wow, you missed the ref. Let's check. So interlock compare exchange is an insanely powerful method. So in general, inside of C#, certain operations are atomic and some are not. An atomic operation is one which is guaranteed to run to completion before anything else could intercept it. So if two threads are acting on the same memory, if an operation is atomic, that operation finishes completely before another thread could interfere with it. A common example that will bite people, for example, plus plus is not an atomic operation. Because in order to do plus plus, it first must read the value, it then must increment the value by 1, and then it must write the value. 3 operations. And so if you had 2 threads that were both invoking this code at the same time, you'll find that calls get missed because they might both read, they might both increment, and they might both write. The problem is if it started at 1, they both read 1, they both increment 1 to 2, and they both write 2 back, instead of getting up to 3. So interlocked is a set of operations that are then guaranteed to be atomic. So it's a way of getting synchronization without locking, which makes it incredibly performant as well. Which is the only reason this is an int, not a bool. Is this overkill for this? Probably. Am I going to do it anyway? Probably. Let's see. So compare the values, and if they are equal, replaces the first value. So we are going to read the value, compare it against 0. If it compares at 0, it will return 0, and then it will replace it with 0, and then return this. So if block changes is 0, let it go through here. Okay, so in this case, interlocked, I guess we don't need to, we can just volatile read this. So this gets 1. And then at the very end, we're going to go block changes, get 0. And actually, we should probably do interlocked exchange. Ref. So exchange to 1. Exchange to 0. And we do all our work in the middle. And obviously, exceptions being thrown would be horribly bad for us. So we're going to clear the items. We're going to add all the new items. Dear heavens, Copilot. You want to just continue writing it for me? Or are you smart enough to realize that it's supposed to go after this? You are that smart. Okay, Copilot, what about the property changes? Ha! Ha! Chump. Maybe it realizes I'm not blocking those, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Not a full implementation. A full implementation would also deal with iNotify property changed on count and the index operator. Just be aware. Don't pull this in for your enjoyment. Okay, so we're gonna go here. We're gonna go collection, replace all items. I'm gonna rename that to be, oh, shut up. I know. Okay. And actually, what we're gonna do is this, because I don't want an IEnumerable. I want to go params. That way I can be really lazy and go B C. Okay. And then I want assert equal. I expect this thing to contain the values of B and C. Now, does this guy, is he expected to be raising? He does raise collection changed multiple times. I don't know if I'm that concerned with testing that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So that gets me to there. Okay, and then next, Copilot, I'd like to do the move case. You have not implemented this one, Copilot. You've done so good so far. Okay, Copilot, you're not helping me. I want you to write all of my code for me. What is so hard about this? Here, tell you what, I'm gonna help you. I'll write the method name, Copilot. You do all the work then. When it handles moves. There you go, Copilot. There's your hint. Nothing. Really. What is the Copilot trigger? The open Copilot. Control Alt /. Control Alt /. There we go. You were very close, Copilot. Observable. Okay. I mean, this is just wrong, isn't it? A little wrong, like tiny bit wrong. Copilot, you are on point. Okay, so what have we not covered here? Okay, so we need to handle everything to do with levels. So in this case, level is used to control the indent when we render the items. So we need to make sure that when we add items and add nested items that we are doing it appropriately. Because we basically handled the top level. We have not handled anything else. So let's deal with inserting at levels and make sure that those work appropriately. Okay, let's see. Fact, public void when adding item at nested level, it sets the item's level. Okay, so we're gonna keep doing this, I think. So we want ABC. We would like to insert, and the calculation of the index is what gets interesting, right? Because we have insert index item level. So we want to insert item, let's say A underscore A at index 1. Oh, no, sorry, I got this backwards. It's index 1, item value, level 1. And I'm inserting into the wrong thing. And then this guy here should contain the collection A underscore A, followed by BC. Right, that should be the collection. And then assert equal, and actually, I don't think we need C for this example. Let's just cut C out. Not adding value, get rid of it. Okay, and then we want to assert the levels. So level 0 for TreeView collection, get level of... I'm wondering if we should do... static class. Let's do some extensions here. Public static I enumerable of int get all levels. This let's see, we need a T play with. Collection. And then we're just going to for int I equals 0, I less than collection count. You want to write the rest of the code, Copilot? This is your chance. It's just an iterator. It's not that hard. No? No. See, no. Copilot. Collection get level of I. It's not that hard, Copilot. Because now what I can do is I can just do get all levels. Right? And then we can just do a simple assertion here of we expect the values to be 0, 1, 0. All right, boom. Easy mode. There, that's much simpler. It sets the item. I am wondering if we should disallow insertions that don't make sense. I think we should disallow assertions that don't make sense. So for example, let's write the test. When adding item that's the level, it throws if the parents level, if the, how about the requested level, it does not match parent. Does not match parent isn't real clear. Throws if the requested level is not equal to the parent's level or one. So here's the idea. When you're inserting an item with a defined level, the only valid options are 0, because you can always insert a root level item, or equal to the item just prior to you, or 1 greater than the one just prior to you. Because if you do equal to the one before you, you're at the same level. You're a sibling. If you insert one deeper, you are a child, not a sibling. I'm kind of thinking what we do is this. It throws if requested level is out of range. We're gonna do this. Int insertion index int requested level. Okay. We're gonna set this up to begin with to get us kind of in a good state. And we might just do this because we don't care about collection changes here. Okay, so inline data, we're just going to do 0, 0 for the moment. This is not an actual test one. We're going to change these up. I would like to then make sure that we have some level of nesting available to us. So AA is going in at 1 with a nesting level 1. Insert this at index 2, and it's going to be AB. Yeah, so we will do that. So we have a collection of A, B, B. Okay, good. So we've got 4 items, nested collection. I don't think we're going to want to test on this. I don't know quite what our assertions need to be here. So, because we're actually going to be looking for throwing cases. So it's going to be assert throws. And we're going to expect a argument exception. Should it be an argument out of range exception? I think an argument out of range makes sense. So the code in question that's going to throw insertion index requested level. Yeah, so we expect an argument out of range exception here. Now this test obviously fails because we aren't throwing. Okay, so what are the cases that are invalid? So 1, if we were to insert if we were to insert between A and AA, this would need to be, so that's insertion index 1. And if we said the level was a 2, that would be invalid because the parent that exceeds the parent's value. Okay, so that would clearly be a bad one. If we were to insert at index 2 and we were to say the item was a 4, that would also be invalid. It would also be invalid to insert at index 2 and say that it is equal to the parent, right? Because the parent can't have a child in there. So if we were to insert at index 2, so we have AA. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this real quick, just to make this set up. A. So actually, let's do this. So index 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's our tree structure, right? Okay, just set this up appropriately. So if we were to index at 2, so we're inserting between these two, and we were to say it has a level of 0, that would be invalid as well, because it doesn't make sense to have X show up there. What else is a good invalid case? I mean, if we insert at 0 and have a -1 as a level, that's invalid. That should clearly be not allowed. Is there anything else? So, because these two measure applying it too deep. and this one indicates going up by more than it's allowed, and this there. Okay, so I think if we get this test working, this will be good. This will be good. This will also help blow up if things don't make sense. So we need to handle these cases one at a time. So the first one is easy. So if level less than 0, right? Actually, throw if null or empty. That doesn't work. So we'll just, because we have to target down level, argument out of range exception, but I thought this also had range. Let's see, actual value, level, message, levels must not be negative. Okay. Must not be negative. Okay. That should handle one of our test cases. If we look here, you can see one of these is now passing. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so let's go here. We want to check should probably we probably want to do a successful case, because I want to test against 0, but we don't have a good 0th case here that works. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. We can do, if you request inserting at 0 and you request level 1, that is also invalid. Yeah, that's also an invalid case. So let's handle that. So if level greater than 0, right, we're going to grab the int parent level. Can we just go back 1 to grab the parent? Is that valid? Previous item level. We want to go with item, let's see, item levels, index -1. Copilot, I think you're right. So if level is greater than previous level +1, that should handle the going down too deep. Okay. That handled most of them. And then we had, the last one we have left is 2 and 0. So it's inserting at index 2. So inserting here, or inserting between these two and requesting here. If level is less than, do I need to check it into the next item level? Because it's only invalid because there's a second sibling. Let's see, int next item level. And actually, this shouldn't be if level greater than 0. I don't know if we actually want this check at all. I don't think we do. Then I think I want to do int next item level. Oh, I needed that check to make this valid. Because we do have the problem of we have to be able to do this on an empty collection. So I think what we want to do here is index greater than 0. Otherwise 0. Okay, so given our next and our previous, we are not allowed to exceed it by more than 1. So what is the right logic here? Because if my previous is 1 and my next is 1, I am not allowed to request 0. So if previous is 1 and next is 1, I'm not allowed to request 0. I'd only be allowed to request 1 or 2. So I'm always allowed to request parent. I'm always allowed to request equal to parent or parent plus 1. So let's put it this way. Allowed. So let's see. Always allowed to request previous item level plus 1, as this is inserting a child. Okay, so that's because we can always go down. Inserting down is fine. Inserting at the same level is only fine. I guess then the law, so you're always allowed to do previous item plus 1. But you're not allowed to do the previous item level if the next item how do I phrase that? So you're not allowed to do the previous item level if the next item is nested. So you're only allowed to go backwards if your next item. Yeah, so how do I phrase that? You're only allowed to select the previous if level, I don't think that's right. If level is less than next item level, so if the next item okay, I gotta put some things to this. So in this case, next item level is going to be 1. Previous item level is 1, and we're requesting 0. Level is 0. 0 is less than or equal to 1. I think that's the right logic. Oh, I've broken something now. At 0, I requested 1. And it accepted it. That's not okay. We got to fix that. Item level must not be less than the item after it. Okay. Then the level of the item after it. We're gonna put we're gonna put in the thing. Next item level. Previous one must not be more than one level greater than the previous item. I feel like I want to include these values because as soon as these exceptions start getting thrown, like in theory, nobody should be getting these exceptions. Unless they use this collection directly or there's a bug in the control, nobody should get these. Okay, but I want to make sure that this control is working pristine. Okay, so what case is failing? So we insert at 0, requesting level 1. So we insert at 0. So previous item level is here. I think what we want to do is this. If index greater than 0. So I think we just don't want to do this check otherwise. And then we don't need this ternary. Because it's this 0 that's biting me. I guess we could leave the ternary in place. But it's kind of wasteful. Okay, what did we break? So 0 requesting 1 still fails. Because it expected an exception. Actually, you know what? If we just change the ternary to be -1. Because previous level is now -1. -1 plus 0. If it's greater than 0, it fails. Yeah. Okay. I think that covers most cases. Let's put in just a handful of bounds checking ones. I like this here because it tests index 0. I kind of want to test inserting at 3. So the invalid values for 3. 3 inserting 1 is a failure. 3 inserting 2 should fail. No exception was thrown. Okay, so 3 inserting 2 should have been a failure because this is at level 0. We requested 2 levels deeper. That shouldn't be a thing. So we should have failed on this. Good, we covered that. So let's see. We're inserting at 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a minute. I think this is wrong. Is insert at 4. There. Okay. Because inserting at 3 is technically between 2 and 3. Okay, there we go. Let's see. I kind of want to do... something a little more akin to this up above and make this other thing a data-driven test as well. Okay. So, what's the easiest way to do this? Let's see. So, we're going to make you a theory. We're going to have int. Well, I guess we can actually just do the same thing, right? Insertion index and requested level. But we're going to need one more thing for the expected outcome, because we are going to need to know the collection and the nesting level. Actually, I think what we do is list string expected items gets new we can just do this. We expect the collection to always be A, A, B, B, right? So this is expected items. Expected items. And then we're going to do the same thing with levels. We're going to do int expected levels. And we expect this to be 0 or 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, so this goes here, and we do expected levels. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to say expected items insert at insertion index. I want this to be X, and then we do that. And then we do, this becomes insertion index. This becomes requested level. Okay, and now we can test with some inline datas. Okay, so I expect that at 0, I can insert a 0. Right? That should work. Okay, so I failed early. Item level must not be less than the level after it, 0. Actual value is 0. So this is why we test both sides of the equation. So the item after it is 0. So it's valid to be equal to that. There, all tests pass. Good. Okay, let's continue. Let's see. So if we can kind of just go down the line and insert at every possible index of what would be valid. Right? So at 0, the only valid insertion is at level 0. At index 1, things start to get a little more interesting. Right? Actually, I guess at 0, a valid insertion index is 1. Okay, I'm trying to remember. Does insert... If I insert at 0, that's at the beginning. So yeah, so hold on. At 1, so at 0 before this, the only valid insertion point is 0. At 1, I should be able to... Yeah, so 1, I shouldn't be able to insert at 0. That should fail. Yeah, but at 1, I'm able to insert at 1 because I'm creating a nested... I'm putting X nested underneath A. The X nested under A. X is a sibling of A. It's creepy, Copilot. You want to write the next one? Let's see. So insert at 2. I should be X is a sibling of AA. Extra points for spelling. X is a child of AA. That works. We can kind of just keep going down the line. Now we go up to index 3, which is here. At 1, X is a sibling of AB. X is a child of AB. And then at index 4, we could request level 1. X is a child of B. X is a sibling of B. Those are all the cases, I think. Because it's not valid for 1 to go 1, 0. Yeah. Okay. I am comfortable with that. I think that has thoroughly exhausted the possible cases and has added good validation. This is thoroughly tested and I am content. Okay, let's test removing items and verify that this works appropriately. Okay, so we're gonna do something similar where we just theory the crap out of this. When removing item, it removes item and any children. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting one to figure out how to set the test up for. Okay, so I kind of want to walk through and remove every single item from this setup. Right, make sure that this works appropriately. So I'm tempted to actually insert one level deeper. Let's do that. Let's see, so insert at 2, 3, gonna be AA, B, and then this goes in at 4. So this should be AA. 2 becomes, yeah. You want to keep going, Copilot? You're doing so good. Good. This becomes 4. And then this becomes 5. Okay. And what I would like to have is int index to remove. And so then our act portion becomes there. Copilot, what do you think we should write for an assertion? Oh, I guess that trick works, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, keep going, Copilot. So we have this collection set up. Expected levels. The fact that it's figured out how this is working is like I mean, seriously, Copilot, this is magical. I approve. Okay, would you like to write the inline datas for me too? No, that's incorrect. See? Ha, I'm still a programmer, darn it. You will not. 3. Well, come on, Copilot. You've lost. You can't figure it out. Okay, and your expectation is wrong too, but inline data 5. Okay, so there's not. How do we do this? Because we're going to need to remove multiple items. So for example, if 0 gets removed, we actually the remaining expectation should just be B left. That's it. So if we remove A, right, because this is remove item at index, yeah. So if we do remove at 0, our expectation is that only B is gone or is remaining. We might just have to do member data. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's see. What do we want to pass here? Like, what do we actually want this to be? Expected items and about int how about int array removed indexes. So we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go up here. Let's see. For each var index in removed indexes, order by ascending, because we want it. No, we want descending order because we want to go from the back. Order by. We want the biggest one first. And then we can do our expectations. So we can do this. As long as we have this, and we can do member data, name of remove, stop it, remove item test data. We'll do that. So I don't know if it has to be public or not. Let's try it without being public. Private static I enumerable of object array. This is an X unit thing to set up. So you can make yourself a method or a property. I personally like methods. And then this thing will warn you it must be public. Okay. Public. Got it. Not all code paths return a value. Don't worry. Yield return new. We might have to do object just to make it happy. So we're going to remove index 0. And we expect that that is going to end up removing which indexes. All right. So this is going to end up removing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We expect that one to just nuke them all. Okay. If we remove index 1, we expect that to remove index 1. We also expect it to remove indexes. I guess I could have even done index plus count. That's actually a good point. I could have marked num items removed because they're always going to be sequential. Let's do that. Int num items removed. Okay, so we're going to change this because we can do because now we can do. I kind of like the inline data personally. I feel like it's easier to see the cases. Plus, it makes it somewhat nicer to comment out. So when we remove 0, we expect it to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. Boom. All right, so we're going to do that. That means that down here, what we are going to do is we are going to say for int I equal to 0, I less than num items removed, I plus plus, right? And then we are going to remove at index to remove that many times. There. Okay. If we inline data 1, so if this guy gets removed, we expect it to remove 1, 2, 3 items. Okay. If we remove index 2, we expect it to remove 1 item. Same for 3, we expect it to remove 1 item. If we remove index 4, we also expect 1, and the same thing for 5. Okay. All right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's see where we failed. So we expected that when we remove index 1, see, this is why we wrote tests, because I don't doubt out this. When we removed index 1, we expected all of these to drop and it just to be A, B, B, right? That's our expected. A, B, B. But instead, we picked up these extra ones. So we have a bug. Excellent. We have found a bug in our code. Excellent, 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 excellent. This is what I was hoping to guarantee. Okay, so where did we fall apart? So it removes the item and then it iterates. So while the index is less than here, it just keeps removing items at that same index. So I'll put you to the side here real quick. And maybe put you, yeah, you can be here. So in this case, what we passed in was, why'd you collapse on me? Why'd you be dumb? Why'd you be dumb? Index 1. All right, so index 1. So we passed in a 1 of items to remove. You know what? I'm tempted to do this real quick and just confirm that. Let's make sure that this setup is correct. I just realized I never actually validated that. Okay, so when we don't remove, we end up with, okay, and if we remove these, everything should pass, right? So we might have a setup problem. So we expected 0, 1, 2, 2, 1, but we got 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. What did we do wrong? We did not nest these things down deeper. Okay, so that should now pass. Okay, now let's reintroduce the deletions. Okay, this is why we got to test both sides of the equation. Okay, works just fine. Not a bug. Setup issue only. Okay. So that is less of a problem because it is not a bug. Okay, so we've got that. We've got that. Removing is now tested. Inserting is now tested. We have completely covered this thing in tests, and I am much more confident in it. Okay, so let's add those in. Let's see. Moving that guy out. Cleaned up a using. Global using there. Don't care to check that in. Okay. Let's see. In fact, I might even go as far as to ignore and stop tracking. Might as well go as far as to just ignore all live unit testing files. Okay. Adding tests for preview item collection. Good. Good. Okay, so that gets me a little further. Okay, so now what remains to still be tested? I'm much happier with this. I feel like that's probably covered everything or close to everything. If a bug creeps in, it'll be easy to squash now, but I feel somewhat, because a whole bunch of this tree view was predicated on that collection working properly. What are the other failure cases? We've got UI tests around adding and removing. Number of visible items that are prior to siblings. This I know Nikolai added this in with Tess. I am wondering if we're going to get bit by the same problem here. Because that testing that collection up above only really covers us from one side. Presenter children changed. I think we're okay. I would like to get in here and test this one though as well. We've got tests over these. I'm trying to decide how to properly test these. So on one hand, we could test this by going through and how would we do this? We would need to replace, move, and reset the collection on a nested item because this is on a TreeView item. The offset isn't a relevant property. It is a relevant property. Oh, interesting. Okay. So we want to trigger these for nested items. Let's check the we can probably stop the live unit testing because I don't use live unit testing with XAML test because it spins a whole new process and well, that's heavyweight. But some unit tests are good. Depends on what you're building. Let's see here. This test is failing. Denoted as issue 1 in the PR, denoted as issue 2 in the PR. And Nikolai had made a comment that some of the tests seemed a little flaky for him. It seems to me that a logical explanation would be that these task delays are not good enough. It is disappointing. I don't know the appropriate way to delay these. It's like I don't know what to watch for. There's got to be something in the UI that I can watch for that I know when it's done. I guess the big test will be if they run okay on the pipeline consistently. Trying to decide what is missing here. Let's just run all of these. I see that this one is still showing red, but I don't remember if that was because this was a work in progress test I had started. Because I had been looking at doing the top level collection changes here, and then I realized that UI tests were probably not the appropriate test for it. So, shameless self-promotion. once this thing finishes running and I'm allowed to touch my mouse again. Because right now it's using the mouse to do clicks, and if you jiggle it, it will fail. But it is kind of fun to watch. Okay, so if we look here, what exactly failed? Is it just that top one? Yeah, so this test is probably a bad test to begin with because we can test it elsewhere. Let me grab the link. So in general, there's a principle about trying to shift left. Hey, look, my name. And this like my very simple diagram here is actually, I think, a very helpful way of looking at it. Is most people put hard lines in the sand between what is a unit test and what is an integration test and all that crap. I think that's stupid. Because there's blurry areas between everything of what counts as a unit test, what doesn't. And the most important thing is fast. And I'd potentially have a second axis here about isolation as well, but again, that kind of gets blurry and weird. If it runs fast, it counts as a unit test. If it runs slow, like my XAML test stuff, it's a slow test. And if it's something that you have to manually clicky on or use a human brain to evaluate, the manual test. And then end user testing is red because, darn it, any app worth its salt gets used by users and they are testing it every time they run it. So as much as possible, the idea is to shift everything as far to the left as you possibly can. With the idea being that the earlier you can catch bugs, the easier they are to find, fix, and destroy. Now, the problem I have here is I don't think I can test that expansion code without... I don't think I can test this outside of a UI test because this is inside of a control. I mean, you can technically use XUnit's STA threads to, or I should say an STA fact, which is an extension to XUnit, be able to run your unit tests with a UI thread so that you can create UI objects, but it's not a very accurate test because it doesn't line up with what the WPF pipeline actually does. So I don't like it as much. Sorry. People are buzzing me for things. Okay. Trying to decide the easiest way to do this test. I think the easiest thing to do, well, let's look at our control here that we've built. So we've got this item. This item has a set of children. I think what I want to do, because this has a value, and at each step of the way, we're just doing this. I think I want to just create a move and a replace and a clear button or a reset button. I think that's what I want. I think that's what I want, which means I need my custom collection out here. Suck, I'm gonna have to do a full implementation, aren't I? I do like how Nikolai added the debugger display attribute on it. Very handy. Very, very handy. So let's go here. Content, replace, click. Yeah. That. We'll go here. Replace on click. Okay. So now what we want to do is figure out how to trigger an appropriate replacement. So I think what we want is something like this. We want to grab the selected item these things don't know about their parents. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to get their parents in order to be able to do anything useful. So we are going to add it. Tree item parent. And it will be nullable because we may not have a parent. And when you do nullability, you put the question mark after the type, not the identifier, because that's stupid. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Copilot. I think Copilot is gonna be like, so in ye olden days, for those of you who are a lot younger than me, people had phones and phone numbers. And you oftentimes would memorize people's phone numbers because the phones were dumb and didn't have like built-in contact lists. People would like have these things called phone books or Rolodex where they would like write down the person's name and their contact information, like their phone number. And so when you wanted to call somebody, you'd look that up and type in the phone number. And then we got things like speed dials where the phone could remember like 10 numbers for you. And then the phones got smarter where they could have the entire contacts list in there. It was revolutionary. And now very few people memorize phone numbers anymore because it's your number saved in my phone. And I just tap you on your picture and poof, it calls you. What a shock. Yeah. I feel like Copilot's going to do that decoding. Is I'm no longer going to memorize how to do things because I just tab and let Copilot write in the boring stuff. It's going to be great. Okay, so this one's here. So if we had, this is the case where we have a parent. So selected item becomes the parent. And this is where we're adding a top level item. So we do null. Okay, done. Now we have parent. And I kind of want this to be TreeView item where parent not null. So we only want to match on selected items that actually have a parent. So for people who haven't seen this, this is the actual full implementation of property pattern matching. The empty curly braces is just a not null check. So this is not null and has a parent that's not null. Great. So we are going to grab the parent. Wow. I mean, that's pretty good. Because it wants to insert the... Okay, so, okay. Like, you're good, Copilot, but no. And actually, what we can do is we can do this. So now I don't have to do selected item.parent. I can just go straight parent. See that? Let's see, int child index. So you can leverage this to get yourself multiple local variables in a single pattern match. So huzzah. Okay, so then we're going to want to parent child sub child index needs to be, yeah, because it did insert, which that's not going to trigger a replace, which we don't want that. And we would like a new tree item. New tree item. And the value is going to be selected item dot value plus, we're going to just do like underscore R. I don't want to, replaced is long and requires typing, and that sounds like work. And then parent. So that will trigger a replace. Okay. I think that works. So we want to then write the test to go with this. Let's see. What do we have down here? Assert tree item content. I need to remember what we did here. Yeah, this is closer to what we want. Yeah, so this will grab this. Add, remove. We don't need any of these things. Right? Because I'm trying to remember what the default setup is for this. So it's going to have 3 top-level items. So I do need the add button. I am going to need to grab... Sure, we can grab the second item in the list. Add children. We'll add 3 to the second item. Expand the item. Replace child item. So we would like to actually grab the replace button. Let's see, second item expanded. This is going to be called place button. Okay, so that grabs the second item, adds 3 children to it, expands it, and then we want to select the item inside of it. Let's see. So we want to grab child element. Let's see. So I want to grab, let's see, so we have 3 items. We grab the second one and added 3 more, so we're at a total of 6. If I want to grab that nested child, I want to go 0, 1, indent, 2, 3. I want this guy. Child element. I would like to go child element left click. Can't decide if this is going to be too quick or not. We may need to do wait for view up here, async. Let's see, return child element. Let's see, wait for, is this thing got a funk of bool? Child element is selected. I think we're just going to pull this outside, do this, do this, do this, do this. I don't really like that syntax. I'd kind of like to be able to do it all in one shot, but whatever. Okay. So this will repeatedly attempt to get the child index, attempt to click on it, and wait for it to be selected. Okay. Then what we will do, the time we get here, child element, or I guess we should click the replace button, left click, wait, and then we would like to validate the content. So the TreeView content, and specifically at index 3, let's see, we expect this to be 0, 1, then it'll be 1 underscore 0, 1, 1. It should be 1 underscore 1 underscore R is what we expect. Okay, run test. Because if I can get all of these cases tested, I'm going to be pretty confident in at least merging and getting preview builds out for people. I don't doubt there will be bugs, and I'm sure somebody's going to find something that doesn't work right, but okay. It failed, and I never saw the window pop. What? Debug assert exception. Where's a debug assert? Oh, trace assert. Pro tip, don't use that. Goal! Okay. Okay. Can replace nested child element. Okay. Can remove. We've got add and remove of nesting, which is good. Guess I should look at what we did here. Okay, so that handles that. Let's look at what else is in here. The big drawback with the way XAML test is set up is I have not figured out how to get code coverage to work on it, which is disappointing. Okay, so we did replace. Let's do move. What's the right way to do this? Or actually, let's write a test. Let's do this. Can replace top level element. I'm only doing these separate because I know the implementation is slightly different between top level and nested items. We don't need this. We do need this, which means we don't need the add button. Let's see. Second item. Left click. Let's see. Await. Wait for. Async. Do this maneuver. So we'll left click and we will return await. Second item. Get is selected. Okay, we'll do that. And then what we are going to do is we are going to click to replace item. And then we are going to assert on our tree content index of 1 should be 1_r. And we might just do some quick tests here. We should have 1 or 0, 2, 2. Okay, so this should work as well in theory. Our replace code doesn't work for top level elements. Oh, right, because we explicitly said we wanted a thing with a parent. Got it. So if selected item is parent, we'll just nest this. We'll do this. We'll turn off the nesting of parents. And then we'll do an else case here because we need to handle the null case. Let's see. Int item index gets because we can go here now. Items index of selected item. You want to write the code for me? Gracias. You're too kind, Copilot. You're too kind. Okay. That's just a flaw of our user control. There. Okay. Perfect. Muchas better. Muchas better. Okay. So let's do a... It doesn't really matter whether we do move up or move down. Because functionally they're the same. So let's just add, let's just do move down. I'm gonna call it down. Move down on click. Right, we want to make sure that that guy gets incremented appropriately. And then code behind. Let's see. Move down on click. Okay, so we're going to grab the item. I don't know if we actually need the index because I think we just do parent children move. Yeah, we're going to need the old index. I guess we do need child index. Child index plus 1. And we're going to need if child index is less than parent dot children dot count minus 1. We can only do the move down if we aren't at the end. Otherwise, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then we don't need that. Okay. This thing is going to be similar. Copilot, write the code for me, please. Thanks. Really appreciate that, Copilot. You're a pal. Okay, Copilot. What am I thinking? I'll give you a hint. It starts with fact. What test do I want to write, Copilot? No. No, that is not correct. Public async task can move top level element. Try again. Come on, Copilot. I believe in you. Figure it out. We just wrote a method. No. No. Copilot. No. 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 Okay. You're fired. You're not a real developer. I will play real developer. You take a nap or something. Okay. Let's see. We're going to do this. We're going to grab the second item. We don't want the replace button. We want the move down button. It has the content of down. Second item. Get is selected. We want the move down button. We want the expectations will then be that this becomes a 2. This becomes a 1. Bippity boppity booyah. Okay. Run test. I'm starting to think this little control might not be that buggy. The more tests we write, the more confidence I'm getting. Can move nested element. Let's see. So we want to do something like this. We're going to need the add button. Be included here as well. I have contemplated, there's a UI testing paradigm where you basically build up a generated object that you don't have to remember all these query things for. I've been contemplating having something that you could decorate on these user controls that would basically build up a nice testing object for you in XAML test. It's a thought I have. Because it seems like it'd be real nice. That way you wouldn't have to remember to do all this. It would just say add button and it would retrieve stuff for you. Now there's always the question of what happens when it does things wrong. JC, good morning, good evening, welcome. Okay, so we're gonna add these things here. We need to grab. We need to just do this. We basically want all of this. We want all of this, except for not the other bits. We want this. I want this. I want to grab this. Replace child item. How about move child item, please? Okay, and then our expectations here are 0, 1. Let's see. Bing, bing, bing. So at index 2, I expect it to be 1_1. At index 3, I expect it to be 1. No, this is 1_0, isn't it? Yeah, and this should be 2. And then at 4, I expect this to be 1_1 because we've taken the 1, 1 element and moved it down 1 level. So that's why this one becomes first. And then this becomes a 2. This becomes a 5. And we run the test and it passes first time out of the gate. How lucky am I? Oh, we didn't expand the child item. Dang it. I missed a step. The part where I was copying and pasting and not actually copying and pasting the right stuff. Okay, now it works flawlessly. Add item, expand, move down. Oh, and what? That looked like it worked. What'd you fail on? So it expected 1, 0 and got 1_1. Oh, let's see here. So let's grab it here, I guess. Don't attach the debugger to the running process. Should perhaps rename this, because it's kind of misleading to say attach debugger. Oh, this might be wrong because it moved the wrong element. Because we expand it and we attempt to go and select the next one. 0, 1, 2, 3. Kind of want to grab it here. I want to see what it's doing before it clicks the move button. Is everything in the right state? Okay, that looks correct. Everything is in the right state. 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. When we click move down, interesting. Okay, so our test is appropriately failing. My first instinct is to check my move down code. Let's see. So we get the index of the item, check it, and then call move. I'm tempted to debug that and make sure that that is working properly. Attach debugger true. I'm going to rename this. Attach debugger to remote process. Big and ugly. But it actually reflects what it's doing. Okay. I don't care about this anymore. I do want to catch it there. that should... Okay, so what is parent children doing? I want to look at this. So 1 0, 1 2, 1 1. That all looks correct. We may have a bug here. Let's see, this is why we wrote tests. Okay, so attached to remote process false. I want to do one more thing. Before I blame my code, I want to just test it manually, make sure that it works the way I expect. Okay. So when I click here and click down, oh yeah, we got a bug. Got a noob WPF question for you. Fire away! But there's no noob questions. Just things you haven't experienced yet. How do you test an eye collection view on your view model when a filter has been applied? Ooh, good question. Good question. Do I have any examples of this? Oh. Rename down to shuffle and commit. I like it. Love it. Okay, let's take a quick look. Let's see. So we've got phone's view model, load async, filter notes, which I assume applies a filter, and then trying to figure out how to do this. So let's take a quick gander at the view model. I like your usage. Let's see. Search for the symbol, please. Oh, come on. Let's see. There's the tests. Phone assistant WPF. Applications. And well, sorry, with phone main view model. Not there. Phones. Phone main view model. Okay. Okay, so inside of here, you have an observable collection with a filter view, which you pull back out. Should work. And you're applying a filter. There's the predicate, filter view. So on filter change, you do some fancy stuff to go through and do it. But at the end of the day, the question is pulling the items. I collection view. I think there is. I think you can just straight iterate on it. I think you can straight up iterate on it. Let's go here. Let me just check. I was on main. Good. Let's look real quick. I think you can just straight iterate. Should work fine with link. That is my thinking as well, but let's confirm that thought really quick. Clone with URL. Clone. Because it looks like a fairly straightforward repo. There. Just see how. Yeah, because it should. I'm trying to remember. I've done this so seldom, and I think the last time I ran into this, I pulled the collection view out of my view model, which is not a, just meant that I then didn't test it. So the idea here is you're hunting for E2, so you're expecting a single item. So I think what the idea then is assert equal, this is X unit, yeah. Let's see, phones sub-0, and actually you're gonna want new collection. And then I think you do VM dot, is this the, that's the observable collection. What's the name of the filtered? Phones? No, where is the, I want the collection view. Let's see, collection. Oh, this is public. That's weird. Don't like the public field personally. I would wrap that up in a property. And I think then here you just go to, or I guess you have to do of type v1 phone to list, because the drawback is a lot of WPF is not hip to generics. Run test. But I think something like this. Fail. Got it. Let's see. Expected. Yeah, so let's pull this guy back, because this guy here is setting the filter. Oh, but this is not actually triggering VM filter view, because I think, is this the method that I saw that was actually, no, that is not triggering the refresh. Should have triggered on the refresh. Let's see. So personally, I would end up doing just a public property on it. Because what you're ending up getting away with is collection view source get default view ends up returning you the same, as long as it's the same observable collection, all calls to this will give you the same view instance back. So you can kind of cheaterly get away with this kind of thing. Oh. Yep. Thank you. I was actually just going to pull this thing out here real quick. Found. Figured I'd pull this guy out. That way I could look at him easier. And you're right. It may just work like this. I should probably 2-array it just so that the assertion when it fails isn't as different. X unit will cover it. But yeah, that gives you down to 1, 2, boom. Yeah, so X, even though one's a list and one's an array, X unit is hip to doing collection comparisons. So, there. So once you eliminate the moron typing index 0 when he meant index 1, the problem disappears. So if that helps you, and then obviously something like this would be one possibility. You could also assert on the number of items that came back here. You will note that X unit does come with some newer analyzers that flag things like don't use assert equal for count of 0 and 1. They've got built-in assertions. They're just a little bit nicer if you use the built-in assertions because you get a nicer error message on failure. All right, so short version, something like that. And then in terms of cleaning this up, I guess there's a couple ways. We don't actually, hang on, proof is in the pudding. Let's do one more thing. Rather than going at it this way, collection view source get default view VM phones, right? This should also work. Did it go already? Can't tell if it ran. It went so fast. Here, we're just going to run it from here so I can watch it spin and change. Yeah. So you can avoid, if you want to, you can avoid making your thing public because because you can, as long as you can get access to the same underlying collection instance, which this guy's public, you can then get access to this one indirectly by going this way. So it's worth noting. That does sort of mean that when you assign things like filter on here, you have to be mildly careful because in theory, someone outside of your view model could do the same thing. Is that likely? Doesn't usually happen that much, but it's worth noting that it is a possibility. In general, when things like filter and sort occur outside of your view model, it's usually an artifact of the control that you're bound to, like a data grid or similar, that might end up adding like different sorts or whatnot based upon filtering things. A lot of third-party grid controls will apply filters to the underlying collection view as well. So just be aware that occasionally that can bite you, but for your setup, looks great. So something like that. No problem. Great question, by the way. I test my memory on what I can remember on how to do WPF. Okay, so we were at the point where I was convinced I had a bug because we looked at the backing control and the control appeared to move the data appropriately, which means the bug exists over here, specifically down here, where it takes the item and moves this math here is messed up in some way, shape, or form. So we want to catch it here. We want to go here. We want to attach to remote process true. And then we would like to debug. I think. Oh, we have hung a process out to dry. This is one of the drawbacks of XAML tests is occasionally you can get yourself in a situation where it hangs processes. I think I killed it, just not fast enough. Just make sure there's not any extra ones down here. I think I got it. I think I just wasn't quick enough to save the test. If anyone wants to see some really ugly code, you can look at the stuff inside a XAML test for the attached remote process bits. It's ugly. It is ugly. Okay, so let's take a quick gander at E real quick and see what we got. So one item was moved. Right, E new items. I want to look at this. Okay, so it is a move. New starting index 2, old starting index 1, which makes sense. We are moving down. But we are moving down from index 1 to index 2 inside of the nested item source. So because we're at the UI level, this is actually the collection of items inside of it's not at the top level collection like what we were testing before. So this is the top level item source. So this thing needs to land on 3 and move to 4. And I'm seeing a problem already. Is this guy here, old starting index is 1, plus I is 1, because I is 0, plus index is 3. So that gets me on my old index here. New starting index is 2, plus I, which is 0, is still 2, which is why it appears to be moving up. So this guy is lacking a plus index on it, I believe is the flaw. I think that is the bug. Okay. Let's go back to our tests. False. We're just going to go for gold. Go for gold. Also, that little phone assistant app that you're building, JC, looks pretty cool. What is it used for? Or what are you building out with it? Because I realize it's labeled phone assistant. Organizing the reuse and disposal of mobile phones. Oh, interesting. Cool. So I assume the primary purpose, based on the setup I'm seeing, is it's management over data in a database somewhere, and all of these create roles, rename column, DB updates. Cool. Yeah, that's kind of neat. For a local government org in the UK. Gotcha. Is the database remote? I didn't look at what it was connecting with. Just brief poke around. SQLite. Got it. Okay, so all local. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I actually have a... I don't know if you've come across it. I don't... This app has been a project I poke at from, so it's worth noting, I don't necessarily think everything in this app is great. This is something I started building. Its very first incarnation was before I ever used GitHub. So it was on my local SVN server, and it's slowly been upgraded over time. There is, and I've played with different installer technologies and all kinds of stuff. But this is effectively my little thing for interacting with SQLite inside of a WPF app. At some point, one of my hopes is to kill it off of SQLite and move up to a cloud database. As the name implies, it's a budgeting application, and my wife has a desire to be able to check it from her phone. And I went, yeah, I've got a WPF app with a SQLite database. And she's like, I don't know what that means. It's like, well, it means checking it from your phone is going to be difficult. So at some point I want to push it to a cloud database and slap like a Blazor front end on it as well, so that there's at least view capabilities from a mobile device and go from there. So at some point I will probably poke at that as well. Because was this actually pulling in EF, or were you just going SQLite direct? Unity Toolkit, extensions, Entity Core Framework, SQLite. Cool. So it is using SQLite by seems with EF. Cool, cool. Okay, where did we land? Did we fail? Timeout. I'm guessing I was touching the mouse. You can use SQLite on Azure as long as you download updated DB on upgrades, I think. Yeah, you can do some weird stuff with it. I was going to look at breaking it apart. There's not a lot that I've built that's dependent on SQLite inside of it. I've got a backup strategy that is dependent on the idea of being able to copy the database around. I've also contemplated building out a kind of a sync interaction. That way it's SQLite locally, but then it can push updates going back and forth. Hey, that's a budgeting app. Is the idea for my current project using Blazor and SQL Server. I'm going to switch it over from Blazor Server to Blazor WASM. Ah, cool. I'd be interested to see how it goes. There's a few things in my budgeting app I will say. It is designed for its user base, which is me. So there's very much the stuff I need to go. Hey, Justin Bieber, thanks for hanging out. There's weird things where it's like I don't handle currency correctly. I store everything to a rounded penny. So there's little things like that where it works for my workflow. You'll also note that there's a nice little import functionality that pulls in from a CSV, and the CSV implementation is tied to my bank spreadsheet that they think. So I can pull open my bank, download a CSV of all of my transactions, drag and drop into the app, and then just work with that because it was real convenient. Again, it's designed for me. If other people find use from it, great. But it's definitely built for one particular user. Okay, so we've covered move, we've covered add, we've covered delete. I think because it's not really like I can't simulate moving outside of it, so we should be fine. I was talking to Mr. Victor about maybe pivoting the application over to reading my bank statements. I specifically want it to track my monthly expenses. So there are, what is the bloody format? There is a standardized format that most banks support for pulling the data. It's an ugly format though. I looked at doing it on mine, and then when I saw that my bank offered an export to CSV, I went, yes, please. That sound I can code CSV parsing so much easier. I'm trying to remember what it is. All the it's kind of a standardized format that like a QuickBooks or similar all support, because it's meant as an interchange and it has a ton of details in it. It's complicated. And I went, ugh. And I couldn't find a reasonable .NET library to just parse it for me, which made me even more sad. Okay, I think that covers all the tests I wanted to write in here. So that's good. Let's see, close that. Don't need that anymore. Okay, so we've got replace and move added. We implemented that. We implemented that. Don't care about that. I do care about this. What's this? TreeListView. That's the bug fix, so we care about that. Adding more UI tests for move, replace. Oh, the one thing we didn't implement is clear. That's what we didn't implement. Okay. Hey, Nikolai. It is working. So aside from the bug we just found and fixed, it is working really well. I've been adding tests specifically around all of these collection change bits, so that, because this is where I see my risk factor being the largest. So far, we've covered everything, but I think this reset case. So I want to deal with this really quick. I will say, so some of the tests, so the ones that go against the items changed are UI tests, but the ones that go against the collection directly, so the TreeListView items collection, I just straight unit tested, which covers the vast majority of cases for top level items. Oh, we don't need this. That was a waste. So I've built out what I think is a fairly decent suite of tests against that wrapper collection so that it works properly. And we are going to actually need this ugly little sucker up here. For one or both. Good to know. For some reason, I want to say that ISO one looks very familiar as the one that my bank also offered. Okay, so. Oh, I forgot you had experience at a credit union. I don't want to use it again. That may be the same format, because I took one look at it and went, yuck. And then backed away slowly. Okay, so I want to implement a... Where did my UI test go? Does that cover the scenario with outer collection containing a number of inner collections, which is what's making the indexing interesting? Yes. So the unit tests only really cover, well, ish. So the key change to the where did it go? I am lost and confused. Hang on, reorienting myself here. So the TreeListView items collection was previously internal. I decided to go public with it, but put it in an internal namespace. I don't love it. But I loved it more than internals visible too. So I moved it into here, and then specifically things like the insert method, we put in some validation checks on it. That way, if the control starts doing something wrong, ideally, it'll start blowing, this guy will start blowing up. And so we put a bunch of tests around insert and remove so that we know at least this much of the collection is working properly. So that gave me a lot of confidence in most of it. And now I'm just trying to cover this items children change stuff. We already caught missing a plus index on the move case, and I think the reset is going to be done. I think your tests reasonably covered these guys in here. I think, but we may consider doing it. My hope is once I get this tested that it's stable enough we can merge, and then I think I'm going to try to focus on documentation and migration cases for 5.0 and get that out the door. So I haven't seen my UI test fail on me at all yet tonight. So now I've only been running them either individually or at the class level, but I haven't had flakiness on them. So that's, I don't know if it's the same DPI issue biting, which it could be because so many of these tests rely on clicking. And I know that's one of the cases where the XAML test struggles with DPI. But at least on these, they appear to be somewhat consistent for me. And I haven't had any sporadic failures as long as I keep my hand off the mouse while they're running. What is this one? Oh. Okay, right after I say that, it then goes and gives me a weird failure. Timeout. Why did you time out? Oh, yeah. The other thing I started doing, I may go back through and try to kill off these delays. I refactored like some of these ones up here to do something more like this, where it requeries the element as part of the wait. That way it refreshes the state under the hood. I suspect some of these are going to need a similar thing. Yeah. This one is awkward because the timing of these clicks is based upon system settings. Where did it actually fail? Which line? 235 is expanded false. So that would seem to imply that either these were too far delayed. I'm wondering if I actually should... I'm wondering if I should write a XAML test thing for sending a double click. Because really what needs to happen is move to element and then down, up, right? Of this, I need a method inside of this send click that doubles up. You know what? I just heard Hacktoberfest is coming up. That sounds... the double click to expand and collapse was biting me because the XAML test moves so fast, when in fact it was meant to be 2 individual clicks. Yeah, I'm thinking that... See, good. Oktoberfest is already in there. Let's just add an item real quick. Because this feels like something that would be easy. And if anybody wants it, you are welcome to grab it. So visual element mixins is where it is. Let's see. Visual element mixins input. Yeah. So we want to have a... We're going to copy this guy, and we're just going to make ourselves a new issue real quick. To be able to do this. Add methods to support performing double clicks. Let's see. Right now, the mixins have methods for clicking, but it would be we have one that formed a double click. You can see the current click implementation here. Boom. Let's see. Please add a new send double click method similar to the one above that forms the click twice, as well as a what did we call it over here? As well as a left double click method that is similar to the left click method. Boom. Sure, a test is written. Well, boom. Correct. Open to suggestions on better names if you'd like. Let's see. Enhancement. Bing, 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 boom. There, new issue. So, if anyone wants to tackle it, it's right there. And it may be worth on the double click having a parameter for delay between it, but at the same time, if you're doing a double click, you kind of want it to fire as fast as possible. Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah, so delays in tests, I agree, are notoriously bad. The hard part here is there are actually two processes at play, where one is a remote WPF application and then one is the unit test actually being executed. So in some cases, especially when UI changes are occurring with like storyboards, there's not really anything to watch for to know when it's done. If you know the storyboard, you can grab it, but that's very specific to like an individual controls implementation and not a generic solution. So this UI testing library kind of gives you the building blocks. And I'm somewhat tempted to go and build out some extensions to let it so that it knows, because right now it's the expander that's kind of biting us. Build out something that actually reaches inside the control template for the expander or toggle butt and grabs that storyboard so that there is something to watch for. But right now there's nothing to watch for other than this delay, which is unfortunate. Yeah, so I will say this, even though XAML test wasn't designed to mimic the accessibility APIs, I've had a number of requests where people want to use it as more of a UI testing framework. Um, so it's not a horrible thing to somewhat mirror some of those APIs for it as well. Remote applications managed, you can hook into IL CLR debugger, but probably OTT. Can you explain that one? Because I'd be curious to understand what you're referring to. So we are somewhat hooking the remote process is managed. So the way XAML test works is it's both a library and a framework. And so when the test launches, I'll actually just walk you through this. So when this test actually fires up, this load user control, this app object here gets instantiated, and then you end up with so this here's your initialize async. So XAML test starts a remote application, and it's basically it's shipped with its own WPF shell, and so it'll start up and load in whatever you tell it to. In this case, it takes that remote app, does a reference back to your unit test project, grabs that user control, embeds it inside the remote host, and it uses named pipes with gRPC to do the communication back and forth so that you can interact with the elements, talk to the visual tree. And because you're inside the process, you get access to everything that that WPF app has, which is also why when I'm doing these tests, I'm writing functions just inside this user control, because I know these get pulled back into that remote host and go back and forth. So it'd be interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to understand hooking into the CLR debugger. Yeah, the delay is just placed somewhere. The other thing with the delay on the double click is wanting to look at system settings, because the double click delay is a configurable setting inside of Windows. So if we look at let's see, where is this? The mouse settings. Where is it? There's an option in here for, yeah, double click speed. So the speed at which you have to double click is configurable. So there's some interestingness there. So the amount of delay that you need is arbitrary based upon user settings, which is exciting to say the least. Let me run this test and see. Let's see here. So, yeah, and I would love to expand out the waits, because it's one of those, I want to wait for this condition to occur, but I'd also like to have kind of a retry thing where if this doesn't occur, go back and do this again and then recheck. So it's almost like I kind of want a for loop. That's kind of what I want. I want for loop functionality, but for this. Okay. So yeah, so that's exciting. Right, we were implementing the clear functionality in the user control, because that's the last one we haven't done yet. Let's do clear. Yeah. Could that have some funky side effects where the test isn't really testing what you meant to test? Sorry, there's a small delay, Nikolai. I might need context for that question. Oh, with the for loop. Yes-ish. And that's why I want that API, so that I can determine where I want it to go. Because functionally, I've started to kind of rebuild it here, but there's no way to say, retry this call because the weights all have that retry built onto them, which is I think 3 seconds or 5 tries or something to that effect. I don't remember what the defaults are set to, but it'll retry X number of times. But it's one of those, it's like after X number of retries, I may want to have do this thing and then try the thing one more time. It's like I want nested weights or nested retries. That's a better way of saying it. And yes, depending on how it's used, it could certainly bite you. But it's also one of those, if there's plenty of tests that have been shaky in the past where maybe it clicks too quick, and maybe it's the wrong solution to have the nested weights, but I keep finding situations where I want them. Okay, so in here, I need my custom collection because I want to trigger the... I want this. Yeah, sure, you can be public. It doesn't matter. Because I want the replace all items function. Because I want to trigger a reset with different items in it. Okay, and then I want to come over here. See you, Joshua. Okay. So I want to do... Clear isn't the right word. Reset is closer but not accurate. No. The symbols run and attach to the bug similar to how IDE does it. And then you have symbols in it that you can probably send events and controls and you send message. Not due to their utility. You will here. I'll show you this. You will probably appreciate this then. So there is some magic, and I cannot take credit for this. I found a sample online and then beat it into submission. Where's my Visual Studio? Yeah. So if you want to see a little black magic, this code here, because XAML test is starting a remote process with just process start, this code looks and checks if you are running your tests with the Visual Studio debugger attached, and programmatically grabs that and goes and attaches it to a remote process. So if you ever want code to programmatically attach yourself to another process, there you go. So it's kind of ugly and kind of really ugly, but it works. It works. Like I said, I can't take full credit for it because the vast majority of that, I don't even remember where I found it. I found somebody with a sample and then I tweaked it a little bit. Because normally you don't have to programmatically control your debugger. You get that for free. Thank you, Copilot. Okay, Copilot, would you like to write the code for me, please? You've been doing so well tonight. No, that's no. Copilot, you lose. Okay, so I don't think we care about parent in this case. I think we just grab the item, grab its children, make a new set of children, and call replace all items. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So we grab this, we go selected item, children, select, and we're going to create a new set of items where we do new tree item. We're going to go with, let's see, the value is going to be x.value plus, I don't know, underscore x, and then x.parent. To array. Let's see. Our new children. And then we will do selected item, children, replace all. Oh, we didn't change the collection type out. Boom. There we go. And then now we have replace all items with new children. Okay. That should now work. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. The cross-platform, I kind of skirted a little bit because of it being a WPF thing, so I could kind of make a few assumptions. It also doesn't work for people who want to run things like Rider or similar. So, because it is highly tied to Visual Studio. But I also built XAML test largely to test the material design in XAML project, which all of the primary contributors are typically using Visual Studio. So I'm like, it works for my target audience, which is me. I'm usually such a rough customer. Okay, so on reset, we'll create a new set of items. We'll append _x to them so we can tell that we've changed them. We'll call replace all items, which should do a blind reset, and then we should see everything just work. Okay, so now we are going to do this. We'll start with here. Okay, so we're going to do here, second item, add children, expand. And then we are going to do await, second item, left click. And then we are going to await, wait for. No, I'm waffling. Okay, so let's go with second item, get is selected. And we'll do that maneuver. I'm not getting bit. No. Okay, good. Expand and select second item. Okay, and then we want the, not the move down button, the reset button. Reset, and then we're gonna come down here. Reset children. So reset button, left click. Boom. Okay, so that all goes away. Okay, so then our expectation is that should look like that. That should look like, oh no, this should be 1, 1. This should be 1, 2 _x. So all of the children get dumped, recreated with _x, but exist at their respective places. Okay. Please work. Booyah. Okay. So let's add this in. So that's the, come on, Kraken, load. Don't think hard. It's not that big of a diff. Okay, so we did that. We did that. We did that. We did that. Great. Great. Still don't want to commit that change. I don't mind that change. Okay. Adding test for reset of nested items. Okay. The top level reset is tested by the unit test, so we don't really need a UI test for it. Okay, I think that covers all known cases. I think. I did have a couple to-dos on it that are probably worth looking at. Okay, so the disallow grid view, I kind of want to check this because part of me is wondering if this is just going to work, which would be kind of cool if it just worked. Yeah, hush. No, no, no. No, no, no. Do what I told you. Yeah, so I kind of want to do this and see what happens. Because I have a suspicion this might just work. Based upon how some of the other styles were set up. So we're gonna test it. Let's see, trees. And then we go where's my tree list view? Pop-up box, tree list view. Okay, so if I come here and I go boom. What is your problem? Cell template. Don't really care about doing you. Just make you go away for a moment. Okay, so if we do this, code name description. So what exactly did we bind this sucker to? We bound it to a dependency probably is not unset for the value control template on setter. Feel like I've mucked something up or the designer's lost its mind. Public string description. And just in the interest of simplicity, GUID, new GUID, string. We've got name and description to play with. So this should be name and description, get rid of code. And then I kind of want to see if this just works. I have a sinking suspicion that this might just work out of the gate, which would be totally epic. Okay, so it doesn't work, but it doesn't fail. Okay, so that's fine. I am okay with ignoring it then, because I don't really need to disallow it as much as just ignore it. So that's fine. We wanted a bindable property for selected items. That is something I do very much want because the other one doesn't have it, and the whole point of this is multi-selection. So we probably want something that defaults to two-way, because under the hood, right, this guy does have selected items. So we're gonna have to name it something else. Yeah, grid view would be the implementation to support doing exactly like what's up here, where you have something akin to this. So I think it's possible, but I think the control template needs to be expanded to include some of the stuff from the list view template. That's just not there right now. So I'm less concerned about implementing it at the moment, but I can very much see people wanting to do this type of thing. And in fact, it might make a fun demo to take this control and build it out. I don't think it'll be terribly difficult to add. I'm just thinking that MVP doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm thinking what I might do here, because we know list view item, we know when your selection changes, don't we? I think we do. Because you have a selected routed event, list box item, yeah. I'm trying to decide why we wouldn't be able to have a good bindable collection. Because it'd be really great to have something you could just bind to get all of the selected items. So we do this. Yeah, get rid of that comment. Prop DP. And now the hard question. What's the type? iList of object? iList generic? It's the right type. I kind of like iList of object. Selected tree items. I have to name it differently than what will exist in the base. Because I think we want something akin to that. Default you to null. You should obviously then be declared nullable. Expression body that guy, expression body that guy. Get rid of the worthless comment. Actually, we can name up these things. We know what's going on. We can name up these guys. Okay. So that goes there. That goes there. I think I like that. And then this needs to be a framework property metadata so that we can adjust the binds two-way by default. I think this is going to be key. Yeah. Do you think iList non-generic, Nikolai? Like, I know that's what the rest of WPF is because WPF came out at the same time generics were introduced, so it wasn't there while they were building it. I'm torn. I really like using the generics. Okay, I think what we can do is add handler list box item selected event. I think, well, let's make sure we're actually getting that far. Fire this up and we'll use Snoop real quick. Yeah, I think I like using the generic. I mean, obviously WPF is not going to go and change its APIs, but I mean, the only time it's going to bite is if somebody tries to bind to some custom collection that they've implemented only iList on and not iList of object. Okay, so I want to know when I click this, does the routed event make it all the way up to my tree view? So, events, change track events. List L. Oh, is it not in here? Oh, that's disappointing. Why are... Could you not be cheeky and do one of and accept either? Cheeky's always a choice. This disappoints me. I thought for sure there was... Oh, it's probably under selector. That's probably what it is. Selected and selected changed. Let's just grab them all. Okay, we'll do that. And I want to get rid of the mouse events because I don't care about those. I don't want to see those. I just want to see the selected ones. Okay, so over here, if I stop it. When I click, okay, so selected event does make it up to TreeListView, and it's being marked as handled, which means it's being handled in the base. You've now given yourself a track of keeping selected items in sync when changing one or the other, and you need to decide on a scheme for what selected item points to. I went with last selected item. I think that makes sense. To some degree, it's only partially on me. Because, for example, selected item versus selected items, you'll note that when I multi-select this guy here, what does this guy do by default? He goes with first rather than last. Yeah, so I kind of get to cheat. And I'm kind of okay with that, of just telling people that if you want the regular selection behavior of the list view, just bind to the underlying properties. If you want the new behavior, bind to my property. But you do raise a good point that selected items and selected tree items should probably remain in sync. I'm kind of okay punting on selected item and just letting the base control handle it. But these two should probably be in sync, with one of these being bindable. Because right now, people do funky stuff where they wire up to the selected changed event, and then they just pull selected items when the event occurs, which seems stupid. Though that does give me a small idea. Can I just... Is there a virtual member that fires when selection changes? On selection changed. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Last, because I'm currently not relying on this view. Yeah, I could understand last making a lot of sense. I think the Telerik controls actually behave that way. I'm trying to remember, but they do some wacky stuff, so I would not recommend mimicking them for just about anything. Okay, so if we do this, kind of like that. Copilot, you are a bloody show-off. I'm kind of wondering if I should default this to null. Amen. Yeah, a driving factor for this is the fact that the project that I'm on at work uses a Telerik rad TreeView, and the number of problems we have had with that control are very, very high. Like, their controls are great if you don't want to do anything highly customized. The moment you try to customize them, yeah, it's a mess. If you want to take them as is, how they work in their demos, great. Drop them in, they'll work just like that. The moment you want to get real fancy with them, dear heavens. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, this material design project should hopefully teach people how complicated it is to just add one simple control. I am wondering if I should default this to a non-null value, though. Because otherwise, people inspecting with Snoop are going to see something that's different. Where does the base... Let's go take a quick look at how selected items work. So list box, selected items. That's what I want to see. Hey, you, go away. List box, selected items. I want to... Nope, that's a Windows form. Try this one. Selected items implementation. There's the property. Show me usages. So it's an observable collection of object. And it makes the sweeping assumption that it's an observable collection. Excellent, guys. Excellent. Where is your... There's an assignment here that's being missed. Oh, it's because it's down a level. Let's just hunt selected items in here. Got it. So they instantiate a new collection in the constructor and call set value on it and register up. Is that the best way to handle this? I don't see why not. I'm kind of thinking that, yeah, they do it because it's a read-only one. And so they can kind of get away with it. I'm just wondering if, without any data binding, I'm just thinking of the case where somebody binds their view model to this, and they do mode one way to source. If I don't instantiate, they won't get anything because of this if check here. And I'm wondering if this if check is even correct. The other thing is this is also assuming that I should mutate the collection. I'm wondering if that's correct. I'm kind of wondering if a better solution here is something more akin to this. Selected tree items as like I'm kind of wondering if that's a better... Oh, I guess the as is completely worthless. I'm an idiot. Okay. Right? And then this goes away. And then we... Actually, maybe it's better to not do that and instead just go if selected items is null, then we're going to go with selected items gets new list of object. And then we're going to go with selected tree items gets selected tree items. But I'm wondering if I really should be doing this assignment here. Because that will trigger a property changed, but it will trigger it with a collection that hasn't been appropriately populated yet. Actually, you know what? We can blindly do this at the end. Because if it's the same instance, it won't raise property changed. And if it's a different instance, it will. That's not bad. Not bad, I think. Kind of want to test. Let's see here. Yeah. Do I care? I think I do. I'm just trying to decide, Should I attack this now, or should I leave this selection stuff for a future PR? I'm thinking I might leave this as a future PR. Hmm. I'm a bit torn. Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, and the other thing that I'm worried about is because I've set this up as a bindable property, I do need to go both ways. Yeah, so the on selection change deals with the user interaction of the control, because that will propagate through just fine for me. And then I can deal with, because that means selected items has been updated. And so then I can go through and deal with syncing up selected tree items property and getting that pushed back to the view model. But there's then the other direction where when this changes, I need to update my view of it. And I also need to deal with it being an iNotify collection changed thing as well. I'm wondering if I punt this particular feature down the road. Because at the moment, this control would work just fine with that. I think I'm going to punt this. So what in here do we actually care about? I don't care about that, because that was just testing the grid. I don't care about that, because that was just testing the grid. I don't care about that. Do I care about any of this? This is what I would end up stashing. Yeah, I think what I may do, I think I'm gonna leave the to-do sitting there. And actually what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the to-do back for the to-do implement grid view support for having columns. I think we're gonna do that. And so then what I will do is I will stage just that change. I will stage that change. I will stage that change. I'll leave the rest of it out. So the only stuff being committed is this. I think that'll work. Okay. I think we're going for this. Start pull request. Merge conflict detect. I'm sorry, what? Oh, because I'm not based on master. Throw these changes away. I don't care. Let's rebase. How long have you done that for me, Get Kraken? I don't remember that feature. Let's see. I don't really care about that change. Continue rebase. Oh, we should probably close Visual Studio. It gets real unhappy about this. Delete file. Let's just abort this real quick and try it one more time without Visual Studio in the way. Rebase. Okay, so this one here, we can take that side. That's fine. Continue rebase. Okay, so that was the only conflict, was the launch settings. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, and then we go here, start pull request. New feature. Multi select TreeView. This control is based on a list view, not a TreeView. The interaction is expected to be similar to a preview with a hierarchical data template, but the rest of the UI should match ListView behavior. At present, there is no support for ListView.gridview. Yeah. Great push. I realized I'm opening a pull request a few days before Hacktoberfest. It'll be fine. I get enough PRs in. I'm going to let that sit. I am probably going to run the pipeline on it a couple times, Nikolai, just to see how flaky those tests are. And then, yeah, head off for work. I may message you on one other thing. I am contemplating killing off the wiki in favor of moving it directly inside of the repository. That way we can have pull request workflow on docs, which right now we can't do. So I'm kind of tempted to, I don't know if the history of this wiki matters that much. We lose a little bit with like the sidebar and whatnot if we do it that way, but I'm kind of thinking that might be okay. So something I'm contemplating is it would be nice to be able to let people contribute PRs into the wiki, because at first I was leaving the wiki open so anybody could contribute. Then there was some bad commits a bunch recently, and I'm like, so I turned that off. But now it means that fewer people can help update the docs, and so I kind of want to get it into a place where other people can help do it. So there is all of that. So TreeView merging, and in future we will do other things, and hopefully that means the 5.0 release of material design will be starting to come to fruition shortly. I want to focus my next efforts on writing migration docs and whatnot, and samples. I've got a few of my own apps I want to rev up to the preview packages. So if anybody wants to play with this, try the 5.0 preview packages. They come out every night. There's been a change. So there should be a bunch of them awaiting you. Yeah, JC, no problem. For next week, there is a chance I may do something non-WPF related. I've got a couple colleagues that are wanting to play around with a product called, actually, I'll just show it. No, I suppose I have to change my screen. This here. Where is the... There's a demo somewhere. What's the demo page? What's the demo page? That's the repo documentation. Well, it doesn't show it. So the idea here is this gives you a quick and easy way to stand up a full end-to-end site, because quite often with like an ASP.NET Core site and a front end, in this case it's Vue.js, there's a lot of boilerplate in the middle for going through and piping everything back and forth. So this gives you a way of doing it. Let's see, getting started. I wonder if this thing, that just shows the template. Yeah. Does this just show you, I want to, yeah, so you get to write your data model as an EF model, and then you get all the things built out for you. And there's all kinds of stuff for permissions and changes and all kinds of things. That way you can go from thinking of an idea to building it very, very quickly. So, it just uses an NSWAG generator. No, it has its own generation built in. So the source of the generation is your EF core entities. And so it will gen you all the middleware, all the controllers, and the front end views. And you can end up turning bits on and off as you see fit, or deleting things as needed. But it will plumb a ton of stuff through so that you don't have to deal with all of the middle behavior stuff, which it can generate you up clients and get you that open API swagger. Sounds dangerous in a crud way. It can be, but that was part of the idea with it. Is you can, does the security show it off? Of being able to decorate your things up appropriately so that it's easy to control permissions. That way, if you have, a property that you don't want to allow out to anybody but, HR, it's easy to start saying, yeah, by the way, the only people who can create one of these are HR. The only ones who can edit these are HR, but we'll let anyone read. So having that kind of functionality and then setting it all in one place and then trusting that that is then applied all the way out is fairly convenient. So there's plenty of things where it's, I don't doubt, somewhat limiting, and I will admit I have not played around enough with it, despite the fact that my company is one of the ones that drives this. So we may do that because we kind of want to play with it a little bit, and I've got some colleagues that want to do it, that want to have some fun with it. So we'll see how it goes. Again, thank you everyone for coming in and hanging out. As always, happy coding. See y'all next time.